The latest installment of Deltarune, which is Chapter 5, came out a couple of months ago. And luckily for me, about 3 or 4 weeks before that happened, one of my chat decided to start nagging me about playing this game called Undertale. I don't know if you've heard about it. It's this game about a flower who's a good guy, but also a bad guy. And then there's like a king and a bad guy also, but also kind of a good guy. And then there's a kid that drops down into the underworld. And the kid is, trying to get home, back out of the hole, back out of the underworld. If I go into any more than that, then basically everyone's going to tell me how wrong I am. You're already probably saying, no, Flowey's not a good guy, Flowey's not a bad guy. Doesn't matter. A little bit after I started playing that, approximately an hour in, I fell in love with the game through the character of Toriel. And it's the first time on stream, I think, that I've ever cried. It was the first time playing a game that I think I'd cried since I was a kid. Probably since Zelda, Ocarina of Time, when it first came out on the N64. And since then, it's been this wild, emotional ride, kind of taking everything as it came. And quickly I realized, not long after Toriel, that I really didn't want to get spoiled. I didn't want to look up the lore. I didn't want to look up who Toby Fox really was. I didn't really want to look up, where the secret bosses were, or alternative timelines. And Gaster, what the hell is a Gaster? Chester and Togor has been explained to me a few times. Apparently they're real, but I don't think they're real. And, all that kind of stuff to do with Undertale and Deltarune that everyone has to go through. I decided early on to have it as a completely blind experience, to play through as blindly as I could and still be streaming it. So you can go back and check out those other streams, but you don't have to, because you probably, if you're watching this, you're probably way more of a hardcore fan than I am. You're probably also way younger than I am, I can't presume, but I'm a teacher, I'm a parent, and I'm in my late 30s. And I decided to start playing games on my channel that you've just stumbled upon, because I decided that that was a really easy way to engage with my students, to start playing some of the games that they were trying to sneak past me in the computer labs and on their laptops in class and on their phones and things like that. It's been this crazy experience, and I've met a lot of really cool people from all over the world of all ages, who also love these games and have also wondered why a person in a suit and tie and glasses is, streaming themselves playing these games really badly. I'm basically trying to discover exactly what they're all about so that I can then go and tout this knowledge to my students, because I feel like it's a really easy way to engage with them. Anyway, all that aside, this journey through Undertale and Deltarune has led me all the way through to Chapter 5 of Deltarune. I'm currently I just got kicked out of the Darkner world by Asgore, and I'm back, and I'm trying to get back into the castle. At this point, I thought it would be a really useful exercise. How's that for a long intro? But I thought it would be a really useful exercise to go through some burning questions I have about the Deltarune characters in particular, because the biggest draw to the game, to me, I don't know about you, is the characters, the stories of the characters, their progression, the novelty of some of these characters, the jokes and the laughs, the struggles of the characters, the dynamics of them, how they interrelate to each other between Undertale and Deltarune, which I quickly found out and was corrected many times. Turns out Deltarune's not a direct sequel of Undertale, although sometimes I still joke with my chat about that. Sorry, guys. And at this point, I have the following questions mainly about these characters. I get asked all the time, how are you liking Deltarune so far? What do you think is going on with the Roaring Knight? What do you think is the deal with Chris and the heart thing? And this is currently the questions I have. I don't have any real predictions. I might have a couple that I drop in here and there as we go through. Settle in. Put me on in the background. You don't have to watch. You don't need the whiteboard. You can just listen along. I'll explain as I go. But I've just thought of one more character, and I won't make you wait until the end to find out the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th character that I didn't mention. It's Susie. It's Susie. All right? I'm going to spell it this way. I know there's some There's some question about the spelling sometimes because she spells it a different way to how... Anyway. Deltarune. Or should I say, where's the food, Deltarune? What the fudge? Okay? I have these questions about your characters. Okay? So, Asgore, at this point in the game, where's the food, right? Asgore, I currently am wondering, I still don't know why he and Toriel split up. For some reason, I also wonder at the same time where the heck Azrael is, Chris's brother. Everyone keeps telling me that they're in college, but I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence of that. Now remember, I'm not going into background lore videos as I play through these games. I try and experience, in particular, Deltarune and Undertale. I try and keep spoiler-free. I take it as it comes. I only know what I've seen in the game. I haven't gone out of my way to find secret bosses. Sometimes I've found secret bosses because I, have been led there by chat inadvertently. One Gerson Boom I've fought and beat after like 5 hours of fighting over 2 streams. But apart from that, this is the questions I have as a casual player. I'd call myself a casual player who loves narrative and who loves character development. And Asgore, I do wonder what the fudge is going on with Asgore. So here's what I think might be happening. Little prediction here. I feel like Asgore might be going through what I would kindly call a midlife moment. He's trying to make up with his ex-partner, Toriel, I think. He's kind of wistful and hopeful about that, but at the same time, it doesn't look likely at this point that he's getting back together with her. And he's running this flower shop, and he must be very openly and obviously, especially on his own when he's just alone with his product, his flowers, lonely and remorseful, and must, because when Flowery comes to life, this is spoilers as far as I know, I know it, but you might not know it. I reckon if you're watching this, you probably know it, don't you? Flowery has awakened. Flowery has taken the form as a Darkner, and Flowery seems to me kind of like that friend when you're going through a breakup that does everything they can to distract you from what you're going through and try and just give you whatever you need to make you feel better and pander to your whims. The classic wingman kind of mentality. And I feel like all the other flowers who obviously are subservient to Flowery or seem to be, they seem to listen to him at the very least and do what he tells them. I feel like they are also just trying to make Asgore feel better. My question is, what's going to happen to Asgore at the end of this chapter? Because I feel like Flowery is the big bad. I don't think Flowery is a bad person. I think that I'm being set up to fight Flowery at the end, though, maybe. Or maybe I will fight Flowery, and then Flowery will be on my side against, I have a feeling, the Roaring Knight. And I feel like Flowery will, the death of Flowery or whatever happens to Flowery, because I'm doing pacifist mode in Deltarune. I did pacifist, I did neutral and then pacifist in Undertale, and then I moved on to Deltarune and decided pretty much instantly that I was going to do pacifist. So Asgore is going to have to go back to the light world, and he's going to have to confront the situation in which he finds himself. He's either going to have to make up with Toriel, or he's going to... Remember, these are my predictions and questions. I don't know. I have no idea. Within the next week, I'm going to know. And I feel like he'll have to at least try and come to terms with his life as it is. Whether or not that will make him change his situation or not, I don't know. As someone who's approaching middle age myself and who has had a few tough moments in the last decade, mentally, like mental health wise, I would say it's very relatable to want to escape your problems, but eventually, you are going to have to confront or at least deal with them in some way. You can't sidestep them forever, and if you do manage to do that, I feel like the regret would be real. Eventually, he's going to have to face his situation. And I feel like the only way he's going to do that is to go back to the light world, say bye-bye to his flower friends, in the dark world and then confront the reality. At the moment, he seems to be taking a lot of copium, and he's just going along with what Flowery says. It seems like, as well, he's taken it in his stride and kind of taken the assumption that he's the leader of this world. I think Flowery's let him be the leader of this particular castle. He's using his time and energy to research old texts, which if I had never played Deltarune and I went in here to this exact moment, straight after playing Undertale, would make me believe that he is remembering the previous story of Undertale, and that somehow he's reawakening as his Undertale self because he's wearing the armor, he's gathering all these stories, he's obviously got this dark narrative that he's trying to uncover what's happened in the past. He's writing illegible scrawl everywhere. He seems a little bit unhinged. Very relatable, like I said, as someone approaching middle age. That's my Asgore stuff. There's no grand section, like this isn't section 1, section 2. Oh, hell. Okay, section 1 is over. Section 2? Okay. So, Asgore, what the fudge? Where's the food? Okay, Chris, what the fudge is up with you? Since the end of Chapter 1 of Deltarune, I've been extremely confused as to what's going on with that heart that you keep ripping out of your body, putting in a cage, or putting in a box, or whatever's handy. Whatever will, hold a heart before you chuck it back into your body whenever you need to go and talk to other people. I don't know what's going on there. I've tried to hypothesize a few different things. Here's what they are. One option could be that it's not Chris's heart. Chris is the being, the person, that doesn't have that heart in them for some reason. I mean, there's demons and humans, like there's animal-esque, anthropomorphizations and humans in the world anyway, in the Lightning world. So it could be that there's a person without a heart who one day was kind of infected with a heart, or it could be like a human spirit from the underworld that's been captured previously in another time. Maybe that's what Asgore is researching at the moment, a previous time when souls were captured. Gee, I wonder when that might have happened. Undertale, right? Have they been infected with a soul? And now that they have it, I don't know how this all works. I don't know how this works. I'm trying to present to you like these ideas floating in my mind. For some reason, could that be the case? Apart from that, the real Chris is the one with the heart, and for some reason has had their heart removed at some point, like, infected, tampered with, a Darkner, like the Roaring Knight, or I'll touch on this more later, but whoever the Roaring Knight is working for, or has allegiance to, has made it so that Chris can take their heart out when they need to do the bidding of the Roaring Knight or the Roaring Knight's boss. And then they put it back in. Because obviously it would be hard to walk around with a gaping hole in your chest and also acting like Chris does when they don't have a heart. So they have to keep up the facade. I do really wonder. I don't really have anything else would be just pure, even for me, speculation, so I'm not going to talk about it. But I don't know if there's a correlation between that and the Dark Fountains, and the fact that Chris is able so easily to stop the Dark Fountain. The soul, I'm more willing to go for the first theory that means that they don't have, that's not their soul. That's not their heart. And I keep using the word soul because I'm using the Undertale reference to the heart-shaped things that came out of people when they were killed in the demon world, in the underworld, right? So Chris, what the fudge? I don't know. I do hope that that's resolved soon. I have nothing to go and look back on and kind of go, this is what I think. It is interesting to me that I think the person that kept on calling Chris in Chapter 4 and then in Chapter 5 about the promise that they made, I feel like, was that Seth, the purple flower? Because if that was Seth, and they were asking for Birdley's feather, because they're such a big fan of Birdley, like, I don't know what's going on there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Seth, at some point recently in the game, when I've been in jail, requested Chris to pay up what they promised. And I think, and that was that was Birdley's feather. Seth obviously worships Birdley. I mean, Birdley. Anyway, I'll go into Birdley another day. Birdley is a weird target for Chris to go for, to give something to Seth. Like, what did Seth have to offer? I don't know. So apart from that, I can't imagine what the connection is between Chris and the Dark Knight. There is some connection. And the connection might be known, actually, already by our next person, Ralsei. Because Ralsei seems to know a lot about the prophecy, the Deltarune prophecy, the three heroes, right? I have no idea. Chris, where's the fudge, right? What the food, where's the fudge? All right, okay, I don't know. I hope we find out soon. Ralsei. WTF, Ralsei. First of all, how old are you, Ralsei? Because Ralsei is childlike, has a childlike form. Ralsei seems to know too much. Ralsei seems to know too much for a child. It seems like he's been around in the dark world long enough, or dark world, whatever you want to call it. He seems to know too much about the prophecy, about everything, to be as young as Susie and Chris. I know that's a bit of an assumption to make, but that's a bit of a leap, but I'm going to take the leap. My working theory at the moment with Ralsei is that Ralsei is very, very old, but has been perpetually in this Prince of Darkness, like young child state, and is incredibly wise beyond his years, has been incredibly lonely in the knowledge that he holds, or the position that he holds in the darker world. And as a result, is so jubilant whenever he sees Chris and Susie, because he's taking his part finally in the prophecy. Maybe the prophecy, I've got another working theory that the prophecy has happened before, and this is this is why he knows, because he mucked it up last time, and this is a repeat of a timeline or something like that. I don't know. Or maybe he seems to have just read the prophecy and he knows what happens at the end of the prophecy. And maybe he's trying to change the outcome of the prophecy, or he's just in denial. That relates to the next point about his denial and his general self-deprecating nature. He tends to put himself down a lot. He's very selfless, altruistic when it comes to his friendship with Chris and Susie, and he acts kind of like a Samwise Gamgee out of Lord of the Rings character, wants to do all the work and take the load, take the burden from his friends. And I find that incredibly interesting, because it feels like he's more powerful than the other two in a lot of ways. That's mostly to do with this idea that I have that he's kind of like a Freeran character, if you know what Freeran is. You know, the 500-year-old elf that has gained powers over 500 years and is now so OP. I feel like that's to do with the knowledge he's gained over the past, in the past. And I feel like that's got to have something to do with why he's so down on himself all the time. He's got a sense of defeat before he should have a sense of defeat about him. Narratively speaking, I feel like he's not going to survive. If I had to choose one person who was going to die, it's actually a 50-50 for me between Chris and Ralsei. I don't think there's any chance of Susie dying. I also think that there's a large chance that even if they die, it'll be like a Harry Potter death, or like a Kara death, where their soul lives on and they take a new form. But that's aside. That's an aside. Ralsei, what the fudge? What do you know? How do you know it? How old are you? Why are you so down on yourself? And what's in store for you? I think there's potentially great harm coming Ralsei's way. It's just me. Toby Fox has surprised me a lot of times, though. Many times. So, we'll see. Roaring Knight. WTF, Roaring Knight. Oh, Roaring Knight. I used to think that you were Carol in disguise. Carol Holiday, Noelle's mum. I felt almost instantaneously, though, that was too easy. Narratively speaking, that's too easy. She seems too much a candidate to be the Roaring Knight, or to be in contact or an agent of the Roaring Knight. So I don't know who the Roaring Knight is. Chat has joked a lot with me about Papyrus being the Roaring Knight. And so I don't believe that, mostly because they know that I don't like spoilers, and yeah. But apart from that, I haven't heard anything. I don't really think anything else about who the Roaring Knight could be. I actually have tended to think for a long time now that the Roaring Knight is the Roaring Knight. I don't know who it could be. I think they're a new person, a completely new person, their own person, not someone we've met before. I could be wrong. Apart from who they are, what are they doing? Because the Roaring Knight is the agent of chaos, is the person, the thing, the being that is trying to bring about is it called the roaring or the rushing or something like that? You know, they're trying to make all these dark fountains to bring about the Titans. They've brought one back last chapter. I beat it surprisingly quickly, actually, only like 3 deaths, which is insane. The Roaring Knight has an agenda. It feels like it's even bigger than just killing the 3 protagonists, because I honestly think the Roaring Knight could have killed us multiple times if they really wanted to, unless they're afraid of something Rousey has to offer, and unless, and here's what I really think it is, unless they feel like they can't kill certain characters, could be any one of the 3. I do edge towards Chris and Susie, because they have a part to play in the Roaring Knight's agenda or plan. I feel like the Roaring Knight actually isn't the big bad. I feel like the Roaring Knight is probably an agent. It's like maybe the second in command, or maybe there's more than one Roaring Knight that we've actually met multiple of. I feel like Toby Fox wouldn't do that to us. He'd probably distinguish them, I don't know, based on other characters. He likes to give us very distinct characters, I think. So for our big bads and for our big agents of destruction and chaos, right? So I feel like Roaring Knight is working for someone else. I feel like the someone else could be someone we've already met. I feel like it could, if I was going to take a real long shot, I'd even say it could be Chris, when Chris doesn't have the soul or the heart in them. But that, it feels too easy. It just feels too easy. And if Rousey knew that, then would Rousey be trying to do something about it? Is Rousey doing something about it, or is Rousey trying to put off? We've talked about this. Is Rousey trying to put it off? I don't know. So the Roaring Knight, WTF. I don't really have any other questions. I don't really have many predictions, except for the fact that I don't think the Roaring Knight is the big bad. I think the Roaring Knight is actually working for someone else and doing it on their behalf. Kind of like they're traveling salesmen. They're trying to go around like with the Queen and convince them, and do things in other kind of alternate darker worlds that are wreaking havoc, but they've got this overall agenda. I do wonder. And finally, the character that I didn't think about until this video, until starting to shoot this video, was Susie. WTF, Susie. And the real question I have for Susie is nothing to do with anything nefarious. I mean, Susie seems to know more than Chris now, or at least on the surface. After the end of, was it chapter 4? I think it was chapter 4, because she ran ahead, didn't she? She knows as much, if not nearly as much as Rousey, or she knows something, because at the end of chapter 4, she goes outside the house and says, we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to let that happen. And I do wonder if Susie is, as sometimes happens in kind of, and I feel like Toby Fox is definitely capable of this, of pulling this off, is she actually the protagonist? Did we start off thinking that Chris was the protagonist? And at least she becomes, I mean, I know technically 1, 2, 3 are all co-protagonists. Chris, Susie, and Rousey are all co-protagonists. They're the 3 legendary heroes, right? But out of those, is Susie, she is gaining so much more character development. She's giving us so much more growth. Her arc with Gerson Boom in particular, she's looking for mentorship. She's looking for improvement. She's looking for ways to improve herself. She's looking for ways to prove to other people as well that she's not who she presented herself as at the beginning of chapter 1. She's highly likable. Even when she was doing all these things at the start, you could kind of tell she was a bit of a rough diamond, with a bit of polish. We're going to find out that she's got these amazing powers, which she does. I'm doing pacifist run, so I've never actually used her attacks, but I have, on occasion, like with the Gerson Boom fight, been able to use Rude Buster and things like that. She's incredibly powerful. She can heal now as well. She's a bit of a jack of all trades, or a Jill of all trades, as we'd say in my country. And I feel like she has so much to offer. So much to offer as a co-protagonist, and the one that is becoming, like in The Walking Dead, Daryl becomes a co-protagonist. Easily. Daryl, the guy with the crossbow, uncouth at the start, completely, almost like he's allied with a bad guy, his brother, and, he's trying just to survive this world, same as Susie. We get glimpses into his psyche, as we do with Susie. The story with the piano, which is so touching. I believe that Susie has progressed more than the other characters relative to the other characters. It's almost like, in terms of what we expect of them as polished characters, here's Chris at the start. Here's Ralsei, this mysterious Ralsei. And then here's Susie. She's got a long way to go in terms of character development to come up to the level where we think that she's a member of the team. Remember, she allied herself with who we thought it was a bad guy at the time, Lancer, in the first chapter. I feel like, at the moment, those have pretty much reversed. I feel like she's climbed so high in character development terms. We know so much more detail about her past. I don't know about her parents. I'm very interested in that. But apart from that, is she so well-rounded that I can call her a protagonist now, the protagonist? Her relationship with Noelle, that's budding as well, kind of cute to start with, very surface level kind of, crush, and then developing into this, taking her in the water, cracking jokes with her in the lake, all those kind of things, she's growing up. This is like a Bildungsroman, or a coming-of-age story, really, for Susie, as far as I can see. Ralsei has stayed relatively stationary, I feel. We know more about what's going on under the surface for Ralsei, but Ralsei hasn't overcome, I don't think, anything. Really, the route that I've taken and the choices that I've made have not revealed too much about Ralsei. Chris, crisscross applesauce? I have no idea, bro. So that's my burning questions. I have no other burning questions at the moment. I'd love to know a little bit more about Toriel and Sans' relationship, but I feel like if Asgore came back and ended up being in Toriel's life, not that I actually think that he should. It doesn't sound like she's very unhappy with her choice, so I'm sure they can retcon that if they wanted to, though. I feel like Sans would just kind of go, okay, because Sans doesn't seem to be... He's to me like an ethereal, time-traveling, dimension-traveling being, and he has this kind of vibe about him. So I don't think that would be an issue. Apart from all that, yeah, I don't really have any other questions. If you've finished Chapter 5, or you're deep into the lore, and you want to enlighten me, I'm going to check the comments for this video as soon as I finish Chapter 5 of Deltarune. And I'm going to make another video talking about how wrong I was, how right I was, which of these burning questions are still prescient, like which ones are still important, and was there any point in speculating about some of these people at all, knowing that sometimes Toby Fox moves at a glacial pace when it comes to storytelling. I'm very interested. I'm excited for you guys to come along on the journey. If you want to come and check out the streams, please feel free. Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. I do hope that I've found some fellow Deltarune fans out there, and also some people that maybe weren't Deltarune fans that are just into listening to someone nerd out about something. I never thought when I started this channel that I would be playing any particular kind of game. I kind of came in with an open mind, and this is the game that I've become probably the most hooked on. Close seconds would be Geometry Dash, Tetrio, and Pizza Tower, and World Guesser. But apart from those, Deltarune, and in particular Undertale, have just hit me so hard. And I think it's really because of the narrative element. Excellent storytelling. And it's come from someone's mind who you can tell They had a vision from the start. It doesn't feel like there's retconning going on. It also doesn't feel like George R.R. Martin with the Game of Thrones series. It feels like this is going to end. It feels like there are strings, narrative strings, I call them, that are threaded all the way through this story and that are going to be tied together at the end and plaited together in this beautiful, probably quite chaotic looking, but highly satisfying, in the same way that Andor as a TV show, if you haven't watched Andor, please go and watch it. Watch at least the first 3 episodes. That's how much you'll need to know if you like the show. 3 episodes. I feel like that's exactly what we're heading towards. We're heading towards this very satisfying, but probably quite drawn out ending. And that's all I've got. Thanks for watching.